so when we get a ratio question like this, they can be challenging because there's lots to think about. But we're good. We got this covered. So if there's 15 girls for every 75 boys, we'd then say, okay, well, they want to know how many girls if there's 126 boy. Oh no, they said students. Now the problem is that can't be a ratio because girls to boys isn't the same as girls to students, so that doesn't work. So since we want to know how many girls there are when there's, was it 126 students? That's the original question. I have to start out with girls to students. Well, thing is this. If there's 15 girls for every 75 boys, then that's 15 girls for every how many students? Well, the girls are students and the boys are students. So what number goes here? Well, 15 and 75. And when you add 15 to 75, you get 90. So the tricky thing about this question is we have to look back here and see that 15 girls for 75 boys also means 15 girls for every 90 students total. And once we've done that, you can figure it out. If you've been taught cross-multiplying and that's how you approach this, then that's great. Otherwise, we can just look at this and sort of think about it as a ratio. What did we have to multiply to go from 90 to 126? How much bigger is that? Thinking proportionally. And if we do 126 divided by 90, we get 1.4. That means we had to multiply this bottom fraction by 1.4 to make the new ratio. Again, we got that because 126 divided by 90, well, that's equal to 1.4. So that means we had to multiply by 1.4 to take this 90 and make it 126. The other way we could write that is 90 times 1.4 equals 126. Two ways of saying the same thing. And if that's what we had to do on the bottom, then on the top, well, we do the same. We say, okay, 15 times 1.4, because whatever we do at the top of a fraction, we have to do the same to the bottom of a fraction. And 15 times 1.4, well, just plug it into my calculator right now. Not being so great at my 1.4 times table, we get 21. So if there's 15 girls for every 75 boys, that means there's 15 girls for every 90 students. And if we want to know how many for 126 students, we just have to figure out what the multiplier was down here. What did we multiply this fraction by to get the other one? We did that by dividing 126 by 90. It told us the multiplier was 1.4. And if we multiplied the 90 by 1.4, then we also, of course, must multiply the 15 by 1.4. And there it is. And so the answer is 21 girls. Now, if you know cross-multiplying, you still have to do all the same first few steps to know it's 15 girls for every 90 students. It's going to be equal to x, some unknown, for every 126 students. And then here we learn to cross-multiply, where we've learned that we can always solve for the x by making a fraction. On the top of that fraction, we multiply corners like that, the two numbers that don't touch the x. That's 15 girls and 126 students. That goes on top. 15 times 126. And then on the bottom, we divide by these numbers. We divide by the ones in the other cross, the ones that do touch the x. In this case, that's 90. And there's no number in front of the x, so that's just a 1. We don't even need to write it, but I will. And then we would do this. 15 times 26 is equal to 390 divided by 90. Oh, I did something horribly wrong. 15 times 126 is not 390. Sorry, that should have been 1890. That makes sense. And x is equal to 1890 divided by 90, which gives us 21. So if you're familiar with cross multiplying, you can use that technique. But if not, you can approach a question like this just by thinking your way through it, thinking in terms of ratios. So yeah, that's how we approach that one.